All right, should we kick off?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, so it's our sixth, yeah, it's our sixth episode today. Oh my God, the time really flies. Okay, hey everyone, and welcome to the sixth episode of the Career Lab. So each week we're going, and that's what we're doing. We're debunking common career myths, and we're putting major career challenges under the microscope. We provide strategies to help you land your next job, as well as take greater control over your career. And today we're going to talk about how to take control of your career and strategically design the way you want it to be. So I'm Olga Barrett. I'm a career coach and I specialize in career transformation. So what I do, I help people get their dream jobs they want and build successful careers they deserve to have. So my mission is to help build transparent and manageable career strategy frameworks that would bring you from uncertainty, lack of control, frustration to financial stability and a job with impact and career with meaning. So everyone deserves to be heard, seen, and hired. So here we go. And here's Jonathan Malby for you.
Hi, everybody. Those of you who know me, my name is Jonathan. I'm a career strategist. I help people take control over their careers by strategically and consciously designing it the way they want it to be. And I use a three-step approach. I help people define their professional identity. I then help them create a powerful personal brand message. And then I also help them communicate that message so that they can get known in order to attract amazing career opportunities.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk, and actually it's going to be more Jonathan who's going to talk. I'm going to pick his brain today, as we did pick my brain last session, and we're going to be talking about the career by design. And I absolutely love this saying, career by design, because let's be honest, when something important is happening in our life, like for example, you get a new house, do you let people just walk in freely and put stuff wherever you want? No, you want to be a designer of your house. You want to actually put things the way you want the colors you want the curtains you want, etc., etc. So why do we let other people design our careers? It's absolutely, it actually doesn't make any sense. So in this episode of the Career Lab, we're going to share techniques that would help you consciously and strategically take control of your career, increase your professional self-awareness, build your career confidence, position yourself in the market, stand out, remain competitive, and combat ageism in the workplace. That's the very sore point for many people. So, Jonathan, we all know that the market is becoming more and more crowded, right? And very competitive, especially in the current economic climate. So many people really struggle to stand out. What can someone do to differentiate themselves?
That's a great way to start. It's easy to get lost in the crowd, especially if you work in an organization that can be quite large. I've got clients who come to me because maybe they've been passed over for promotion because they've been stuck in the back doing a great job, being head down, bum up, and no one's really getting to notice them, especially the decision makers. So how do we go about standing out if we believe that we've got the same skills and experience and education as maybe our peers? And that's a question that a lot of people kind of think about. And I think it's pretty simple. If you've got the same experience, if you've got the same skills and you've got the same education as a lot of your other peers who are doing what you do, the simplest thing is to focus on building your brand and defining it, and then making sure that you have every opportunity to be able to communicate it. And that means it means figuring out what exactly you are branding. I always say, look, it's hard to build your brand and stand out if you don't really know what you're building your brand on. So that means you've got to figure out what are the key ingredients that I want to put into my brand. Kind of like when you bake a cake or create a fantastic meal, you choose a lot of ingredients that you're going to put into this amazing meal. And the same thing happens with your brand. So the kind of things that you want to think about is, as part of your brand is, okay, if I want to stand out, I've got to really kind of amplify certain things about me. So I always say, start off with figuring out, what am I going to call myself? In other words, what is my professional label? Okay. And it's not your job title. It's something that you want to call yourself. Like, it could be like, I'm a senior electronics engineer, or I'm a digital marketing professional, or something like that, that people can get their head around pretty easily. So that's the first part when it comes to designing your brand. The second thing is, you want to think, okay, what is it that I actually do? And this is what a lot of people really struggle with. And you really want to get clear on these things. And one of the things that I like to help people figure out is, what are the problems that you help people or organizations to solve? And that's a key ingredient of your brand. Another thing is, you want to think, okay, so what do I bring to the table in terms of my skills, my knowledge, my areas of expertise as well? So that's another component to help you stand out. And then you got to think, well, within my field, am I a specialist? And I think it's a great idea to position yourself as a specialist, because it's much easier to stand out as a specialist in your field than a generalist. Another thing you want to think about is, where in the market do I fit? And this is kind of cool. When it comes to designing your career, you want to kind of think about, what is the space that I want to play in, or I want to be seen as a power in, or as an authority in. So it's kind of defining what space you want to play in. In other words, where you want to position yourself in the market. And another thing that you want to think about as well when wanting to differentiate yourself is defining what I call your playbook. It's like figuring out your own operating manual. And this is a thing that a lot of people really struggle with, because they go, okay, I do all these things in my job and I solve all these problems, and I kind of do it on autopilot. I'm not really conscious of it. I've been doing it for so many years. I just go in and I solve the problems. And then when you ask them, but what is your process for solving the problems? What is the step-by-step way that you do it? And a lot of people go, geez, I've never kind of thought about it. I've always just done it. And this is where you want to really start figuring out, as part of your brand, is your process of how it is you do what you do. Because this can actually really give you that competitive advantage, especially in an interview. So the key thing here is, when it comes to these core aspects, you really need to be specific. Okay. I always say, vagueness is the enemy of a strong personal brand. Another thing you want to think about is, good brands don't blend in. Their aim is to stick out. And sometimes that means swimming against the tide, doing something different that no one else is doing. And I often think about, this is a way to embrace your personality. Good brands are not worried about their personality. They're worried that they are conscious of how they want people to perceive them. But I say a good brand embraces your personality. So if you've got some oddities or some idiosyncrasies or some little quirks, instead of hiding them away, bring them into your brand. And another thing you can also think about is amplifying your voice and your strengths, but also acknowledging your weaknesses as well. I think a good brand is one that focuses on its strengths, acknowledges its weaknesses, but is not so worried about maybe improving their weaknesses, because then you become that generalist again. You become mediocre at doing a lot of things. Yeah, so that's kind of how I would think about, sort of how you could go about differentiating yourself.
Excellent. So much value. So define your brand, understand your professional label, think about the problems you solve, what you do you bring to the table in terms of your capabilities, what's your specialization, what market do you fit in, define your playbook, your process, and be specific. I think, and embrace your personality. I think this is absolute gold. And I think it's very interesting that some people, they really struggle with this being specific, because they feel that they might, kind of miss on something, or are really eager to bring as much as possible, to decision makers when they look for jobs. It's like, yeah, I can do this and I can do
Yes.
that, I can do that. And that's when their core message gets lost, because the decision maker only thinks, okay. So can you solve my problem?
Yes. That's what they want to know. That's why you're being hired, to solve a
Yeah,
problem. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Right. Okay. So you have, I have heard you mention visible is valuable, and I couldn't agree more. Yeah, because uh, when you're visible, you become familiar, and
Mm.
familiarity brings trust, and trust brings sales. Yeah. So can you please just elaborate on it? So can you tell us, like, what do you mean by that?
So it's one of my favorite sayings. When you become visible, you become valuable. And I usually use a bit of an example to explain why visibility is so important in when it comes to taking control of your career. Um, So imagine that there was like this movie producer, and this movie producer had like the concept for would be like the most amazing film that anybody's ever going to watch, and it's gonna clear up the box office. It's going to win all the awards. It's just going to be a massive epic film. So this producer goes, okay, so I need to get the best director, and I need to get the best cast, the best actors, and I need to get the best script writers who can write like the best lines, and I'm going to get the best costumes, the best music, the best score, the best location. And they get everything that this movie is going to make it a sensational film. And they spend a few years putting this movie together. It's amazing. And they finally finish this movie. And they take this movie and they go into a room and they put it on a shelf and they switch off the light and they close the door. And no one gets to see or experience this amazing film. What a waste. And I believe the same thing can be applied to your own personal brand. If no one gets to experience it, then you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. So the point I am making here is that when you do become visible, you become valuable, and that means you need to be seen. Some people are great at being seen, and other people prefer to kind of squirrel away in the background. But there's great ways that you can actually amplify your brand and your visibility, either as an introvert or an extrovert. So how do we become visible? Well, one of the ways to do that is to say, okay, over the years, I've gathered a lot of knowledge in my head, okay? And that knowledge has value. You need to get it out and you need to share it. And that means positioning you as a subject matter expert. So when you start creating content and writing about things that fall within your domain, and you know that you know this stuff really, really well, people look at you as that thought leader and that subject matter expert. So my advice to you is to start thinking about creating a content strategy for yourself. Write blogs, write articles, create video, do tips or techniques, share your opinion as well is a great way to kind of raise your visibility and get noticed. Also, another thing that a lot of people do is they kind of do their job and they do it so well that no one gets to find out about it. Okay. So it's hard to be visible if you just do your job. If you just stay behind your desk at work doing your job, that's a great way to be invisible. Okay. You've got to get out. You've got to move around. You've got to make contact with other people in the organization. Put your hands up for projects that fall outside of your job, if you can do that. As I said, get to talk to other people in other departments, because I've seen people move into other departments or get pulled over into other departments because they formed relationships with other managers, and those other managers get to find out about all the awesome things that person can do. So you can also become valuable to your entire business, not just your own department. And one of the biggest career killers that I find people have is where people have that mentality, I'm only going to do my job. I'm not going to go beyond it because that's not my job. Biggest career killer. So get involved in the wider aspects of your organization, but also into your industry. Like if you have hackathons in your industry or conferences or anything else like that, that's a great way to raise your visibility as well. Another way to do it is just to be seen as a giver. Give your time, give your knowledge, give your expertise as well. Be willing to help others. Do more than what's expected of you. And I can assure you that you will get noticed and the rewards will be massive. But you also need to be strategic. So you need to make sure that the right people are noticing what you're doing as well.
Right. Wow. That was very inspiring. And I think that as absolutely lots of people struggle with becoming visible.
That's right.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm just gonna do my job. All this exposing, all this TikToking. I'm not a public figure celebrity, like all your bloody millennials are making a circus out of the serious professions like a structural engineer. And that's how people stay invisible. But the thing is that uh, the world has changed, and especially with the gig economy and the how many contractors are like around the world, how many contractors are in Australia. And in order to be successful in contracting, you have to have your gigs kind of lined up for you, which means that you have to promote yourself all the time to make sure
Absolutely.
that you have your next gig coming. And whether you're a permanent employee or you're a contractor, and or you never want to be a contractor, still the world has changed, and it's not enough just to be good at your job. You need to articulate it, you need to bring it out, and you need to make yourself visible. Thank you so much, Jonathan. My next question would be, so personal brand. How do you start? Like if someone wanted to build a personal brand, where should they start? Is it egg? Is it chicken? What do we do?
That's it. I think you need to have some structure. If you really want to take conscious control of your career and your brand, you need to have some structure and some strategy. Just like when a business does marketing, in many cases, they put together a marketing strategy or a brand strategy. And I think the same thing needs to happen for your career as well. You need to be conscious. You need to stop and going, okay, what am I doing here? And how do I want my career to be? I need a strategy. I need a roadmap. I need a calendar. I need all of these key things to manage my career. So I say a strong career is one that is consciously and strategically defined and cultivated. And I've got a four-stage process that I take my clients through to help them become conscious of themselves and then build a brand around that. So the first step is really unpacking and then deconstructing yourself to determine, one, your professional identity, which is what we spoke about earlier on, and that's the foundation of your brand. And then you also want to kind of define, what are my short-term goals and what are my long-term goals? Because your brand actually becomes the vehicle that is going to help you achieve those goals. You're still going to get those goals in the end, but if you've got a good brand and you're known in the marketplace, you're going to achieve those goals a lot quicker. You also need to figure out, what do I want to be known for as well? I want to be brought in to help organizations when these things have happened. I want to be sought after. So what areas do I want to specifically be sought after in? So that's the unpacking phase. And when I work with people, we do a lot of writing and we do a lot of unpacking, and it takes a good many hours, but it's really quite inspirational for a lot of people, because they go, wow, I am so much more than I thought I was. I have far more capabilities than I was actually aware of. So that's the first step. The second step is then, okay, so now I've got all of these things that I've figured out. I now need to start putting them back together in a cohesive and compelling brand message. How am I going to do that? Well, you go, right, well, my goal is to get there. I need to brand myself with a strong message that is in alignment with that goal, and that also influences people's perception of me. So the second stage is creating your brand message. And that's an overarching brand message that captures the key aspects of your professional identity. And then you can use this message in your CV, in your LinkedIn, when someone says to you, so tell me about yourself. You can use it in your website, and also really importantly in an interview as well. So that's the second stage. The third part then is going, okay, remember what we spoke about earlier on, visible is valuable. So you need to create a visibility strategy. How am I going to get out there? How am I going to get known? And we've talked about content, we've talked about networking, we've talked about making sure the right people see you. So that means moving in the right circles as well, so that you can attract those career opportunities. Okay. You see, as I said, when you are known, those career opportunities come to you instead of you always being on the back foot going, I need to go and find my next gig. Now, there's a fourth step. And the fourth step is really for those who want to really push the boat out. They want to see how far they can push things. It's for the ambitious and people who have some courage and not a worry or not afraid to fail. And this is with the fourth stage is where you start becoming the dominant force in your industry. This is where you're doing speaking engagements. This is where you're writing books. This is where you're getting onto panels. This is where people are bringing you in as a consultant because they see you as the dominant player in your space. So those are the four steps that I usually help people. So it's first of all, unpack yourself, figure out your professional identity, what you're branding. The second thing is to start putting a brand message together. The third part is to get a visibility strategy. And the fourth part is to start to dominate. There we go.
Wow, awesome. There's so much marketing in strategic career transformation. There's so much marketing in recruitment too. So, and I think that it also means that you have to test different things. You shouldn't be afraid to, okay, you test this strategy or that strategy and see what works for you. A/B testing all the way. So, personal branding, perception or how people actually perceive us plays in a just humongous role in this whole exercise. So how can we influence people's perception? How do we actually control it?
I think it's hard to control someone's perception, but I think it's easier to influence someone's perception. You can't really control it because they'll make their decisions no matter what, but you can do things to influence people's perception of you. Like, you think about it this way, businesses have a brand, and a business brand is not always what the business says its brand is. It's what their audience and their customers perceive their brand to be. And the same goes for your own personal brand as well. So we actually have more influence over the way people perceive us than we realize, but so many people are not aware of this. So there's some key aspects that people need to be aware of that can influence people's brand perception of them. It's your actions, it's your behaviors, it's the words and the language that you use. It's how you treat people, it's how you interact with people, it's how you approach something, it's your attitude, and it's your mindset. All of these key things actually impacts people's perception of you. So when it comes to defining your brand, you need to define exactly how you want people to perceive you. And you got to be specific. So you go, I want to be seen as this. So for me to be seen as this, like an expert in this area, I need to make sure that I position myself as an expert. I sound like an expert. I treat people well. I've got the right mindset. All of these things will actually help accelerate your career. So that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that your actions, your behaviors, your words, your interactions, your attitude, they're all working together to reinforce the perception that you want people to have of you, because these are crucial aspects of your brand. And I always say people with good, strong brands are always conscious. They always think before they say something or interact with people. Even if you're going to go into a meeting and you go, right, I want to be seen as an expert in this field. How am I going to manage myself in this meeting with other stakeholders? Or if I'm going off to see a client, for example, how do I want them to perceive me? How do I need to dress? What is my mindset? All of those key things plays into perception. It can take a long time to build a brand, but it can take literally minutes to destroy it. And we see so many people do this, either, high profile business people or celebrities as well. There we go. So make sure that you're always conscious of those key things and how your brand and perception plays into your brand as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And I think that sometimes it's good to do a bit of self-reflection and think, okay, so what is the feedback I get from my colleagues? What kind of things they ask me to help them with, which means that I'm known for that. Yeah. Or my managers, what did they praise me for? So that would be, I think, a really good starting point. And then you will need to think, okay, yeah, that's what it is at the moment, but that's where I want to go, and then you can figure out your strategy. Right. Okay. So my favorite part about being in control. There are so many things in our lives that we cannot really control. but let's talk about how we can control our careers. And because so many people drift along in their careers, they base their strategy on what they find on Seek or
Yeah.
Indeed, you know. So they don't have any specific roadmap or strategy. Yeah. So what strategies and techniques can we apply, Jonathan, to take control over our career so we can get where we want to, and
Yeah.
do it quicker?
Yeah, yeah. That's right. I mean, go back to what you said earlier on. A lot of times we're so reactive to the job market, so that we're at the mercy of the job market. And so many times we go through our careers often on autopilot. And this means that it can take people a longer time to reach their goals. So as I said at the beginning, a big focus of the coaching that I do with people is helping them stop and just become more conscious about themselves so that they can strategically design their careers. I've got a thing, I call it a career by design. So let's say that we wanted to set ourselves up for promotion next year, or maybe we want to apply for a new job or get something new. And then one of the biggest things that people do is they write their CV, they write their LinkedIn, and they basically position themselves as an applicant for a job. Now that might seem, that's logical. And they wave their CV around going, interview me, look at me, look at me, look at me. I want to be another bum on a seat in your organization. But that does nothing to differentiate them from everybody else waving their CVs, trying to grab the hiring manager or recruiter's attention. So to stand out and to take control, you need to change your thinking and the perception when it comes to your job hunt. So you want to think to yourself, okay, why does this job exist? Try and get into the mindset of the business. Why does this job exist? Well, this job exists because the company is experiencing a challenge or a problem, and they require a set of skills for someone to go in and fix that problem. Okay, that's the first thing. So that job represents a problem that's there to be solved, and the right applicant will have the right skills to do that job. Instead of positioning yourself as another applicant, position yourself as the solution to those problems. And that's what you are. You become that solution provider, not just another bum on a seat. And when I've taught this concept to other people, it has actually completely changed the dynamic of an interview. In fact, it changes the way you ask questions in an interview, and it also changes the way you deliver your brand in an interview as well. So think about this. How are you going to help them solve this problem? What is your solution to help them solve this problem? Again, because you've defined your playbook. Remember, we spoke about that earlier on. What are your tools that you use, your areas of expertise? In other words, your skills and capabilities that allow you to solve that problem or enable you to solve that problem. And the final thing you want to think about it as you design your career and you design your brand is to think, what outcome can I help that business achieve as a result of me solving that problem for them? Because businesses don't really care about what you do in the middle. They care about what you can produce for them. How can you transform my pain into a gain because you are an expert in your field? And that's how you position yourself as valuable. This strategy can also be used to take control of your bigger brand and career as well, not just the job interview. So you want to think about this. What problems do I love to solve for businesses? I can solve a lot of problems for businesses, but it doesn't mean to say I want to solve those problems. Maybe I solved those problems 5-10 years ago, but I've grown beyond that now. So what are the problems I love to solve? The next thing you want to think about is, because the reason that you want to figure out the love part, you want to fall in love with your career, is because you get to do the things you love to do. Okay. And that's going to help you gain that sense of satisfaction and fulfillment in your career, is getting to do the things you love to do. Okay. The next thing you want to think about is, what are the problems I love to solve? The thing is what are my capabilities in solving that problem? What is my process for solving that problem? And again, what is the outcome that I can help businesses achieve? Again, you want to be positioning yourself as that specialist in solving those problems. So, and make that the focal point of your brand.
I love the love part, and as everyone here can see, Jonathan really loves helping people with their career transformation and building their designing their careers, because there's so much passion in how you say what you say. It just makes
Thank
me
you.
very happy. Now, yeah, and again, I think that they are absolutely fantastic points. And how it also can help you is when you are negotiating your salary. Yeah. So you're shifting the focus from the cost of hiring you to the value that you
Mm.
would bring, And let's be honest, companies and people are happy to pay money to get, to get rid of some problems. Now, very sore point. Many people worry that as they get older, they're not going to be able to compete with the younger ones. Yeah. So how can we remain competitive as we get older? Because it's such a kind of showstopper for many people. There's like, oh, okay, I'm 40 something. I'd rather stay put. I'd rather not move because there is a very scary world outside. So what do we do?
That's a real interesting thing, because I work with a lot of people who are in that kind of mid-career phase, 40 years plus. And they're kind of worried, like, I've been doing this for a while, but I'm starting to see a lot of the millennials coming up, for example. And I'm really worried about how do I remain competitive if I'm going in for a
not
job.
spring chicken anymore.
You're not a spring chicken anymore. And those a lot of times, that's actually a perception that you're not competitive anymore, or that they're going to take the job. I find that a lot of people have that perception themselves, but it's not actually true. Yes, in some ways there is ageism out there, and we've got to come up with strategies to combat it. And I work with a lot of people who are as I said, in that mid-career phase. That's what's called the Gen X generation. They're worried, how am I going to compete with these millennials who are going for the same roles as me? And the Gen X is like the neglected middle child. They're stuck between the baby boomers and the millennials. And this is a big area of that I'm passionate about, is working with that middle group there. Look, I'm happy to work with people on either side of that, but my passion is right in that middle, because Gen Xers are whilst we're a small generation, we're actually very sometimes uncomfortable with the concepts of self-promotion. We're the guys that are head down, bum up, in the background, doing a great job, but not doing any self-promotion. And I've seen so many people who get promoted, with younger people get promoted above them, and then people go, oh, we didn't really know what you did here half the time. You've been doing such a good job, but we don't hear for you. So yes, a lot of times these younger generations, they are going to run rings around you in certain fields. Don't have to compete with them on everything, because there are certain things that you can do and do well that they can't even hold a candle to. You will be able to run rings around them on those things because you've got the skills, you've got the experience, and you've got the wisdom to go with that. And it's time to let that come out. Okay. So if you're in that mid-career phase and you want to remain competitive, it's time to start consciously and strategically building your brand. Okay. Because when you get to a certain stage in your career, you've actually gained an enormous wealth of knowledge, expertise. It's time to get that out, and you need to make damn sure that people know about it. So think about, what are the situations that I can walk into and command? When the shit hits the fan, I know how to go in and fix this. And I've been in situations like that as well, where people come to me and going, crikey, how do we fix this particular problem? And I go, don't worry about it. It's not worth panicking about. This is what we're going to do. And it's only because of my skills and expertise and experience that I've gathered over the last 20 years. So you really want to be amplifying that. You want to be seen, and you want to position yourself as that sage, that trusted advisor. All of that knowledge in your head, okay? Position yourself as the expert with a visibility strategy, and make yourself so that you can position yourself to be sought after. I always say, stop hiding in the damn corner. Your modesty is not actually helping your career. And if you want to find out more about all of that kind of stuff, and how to kind of take control of your career at that mid-level phase, then I'm happy to have a chat about that as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And that's so true. The only thing that I would love to add here is that you need to position the years of your experience as the evidence that you can solve a
Mm,
large, a wide, vast kind of range of different problems. I mean, like just a number, oh, I have 15 years of experience doesn't bring much other than the number, but it's all about, so everything is very much about problems and that companies and stakeholders are experiencing and how you can solve them. Yeah, thank you so much, Jonathan. So here's Jonathan Malby for you. Jonathan specializes in personal branding and career by design. And here's me. I specialize in career transformation and actually providing people with a strategic, transparent frameworks. And you can reach out to us and actually ask any questions, ask for help. We're here for you. So our next episode will be dedicated, it's going to be jingle bells all the way. Yeah. So we're planning to have it maybe later in the evening with a few drinks. Yeah. And then we will make a real networking event out of it. So we'll be talking much less. You'll be talking much more. So just watch the space. We're gonna advertise it quite soon. And now the question time. Here you go. Thank you so much, Jonathan. That was real food for thought.
thank you very much.
Yeah. So Cameron asked about that many employers Cameron worked with seem to have the perception that the engineer should be like jack of all trades. And in my experience, it depends on the scale of the company.
Mm,
Smaller or let's say mid-sized companies, they tend to have their areas of kind of responsibilities a little bit blurred. Yeah, and it's all resources game. When in bigger companies, they would have a little bit more structured approach, and in companies like that, you would be actually expected to stay within your area, yeah, and not step on someone's toes. That's my experience with my clients. Jonathan, maybe you can or would like to add something to it.
Okay, so the jack of all trades, look, it all depends obviously like on the size of the organization, but you can still develop your breadth, but I think of skills, but I think it's important that you actually develop your depth as well. And that's where you figure out that area of specialization. And you could specialize in a particular area, or specialize in whatever problems you can fix for or help organizations overcome. It's hard to build your brand trying to be that jack of all trades because they don't quite fit in a box. Now, I think you need to be specific about all the things that you are or can do, but really try and keep that kind of focused as well. On the surface, it might seem like they need a jack of all trades, but really, when you delve into it, you can find out the key areas that they actually need specified skills or specific set of skills in. I'll give you an example. It was a number of years ago where I was working in recruitment, and there was a guy who a company had a specific software, and there was only a few people, and it was an older bit of software, and there was only a few people around the world who actually knew how to work this software. And the company said, I think it was one of those SAP modules. And the company said, look, we don't care. We know this is such a rare bit of software for this particular module. You have to find someone. Things are breaking and we need someone to fix this urgently. I found someone, the guy was overseas, and he said, yep, I'll come over. I'll fix it for you, but it's going to cost you nearly $2,000 a day. What are you going to do about it? And I also want to only work 3 days a week, and you're going to put me up in a hotel. Because he was such a specialist, he commanded a much higher salary than all the others. And you know what? They paid it. And he started going or becoming a consultant for them as well. And that's the beauty of specialization. So yes, build your breadth, but don't forget to build your depth, because a jack of all trades eventually becomes mediocre at a lot of things as opposed to a specialist at a few things as well.
Yeah. I think it might be also a good idea to do a bit of digging about the company and see what does the company promise to the clients.
Yes.
Yeah, so what specific problems this company help the clients solve? And how can you, shall we say, expand this promise and see what's your impact? That's one thing. Another thing, do a bit of digging about the employees who work in this company in similar roles and see what do they put on their LinkedIn. Because people tend to write on LinkedIn what they're really proud of, and what's important for them. Sometimes they get too much into situation and they write what's happening in the company, not what the market wants, and that happens at times. But that would be a really valuable source of information for you. So what do they really want?
Right.
Yeah, that's my input.
Anybody got any other questions they want to ask? Don't be shy.
Yeah, Cameron is asking, what about if you had various gaps in your career? Jonathan?
Oh, okay. Look, inevitably people have gaps in their career. Certain things happen in life that, sometimes is out of our control. Maybe illness, maybe we're looking after somebody else or something like that. So I think it's being able to explain the gaps. If you've got a 3-month gap here and there, it's not such a major. If you're starting to get like 6 months or more, then you need to be able to explain why it happened and have a good story. Basically, I remember when I was in recruitment, I didn't want to know that the guy sat on the couch for a year playing PlayStation. That's all I wanted to know. Okay, what have you done during that time that you were off work? Maybe it's you were upskilling in something, you were learning some new things, you were getting more certifications. As long as you're using that time wisely, then that's okay. But as long as you can actually tell a really good, tell a genuine, honest story, I think more people are having more gaps, and the reason that they're doing that is sometimes because of this gig economy. It's all right to have gaps in your career because you are designing the career you want to and it's like maybe you do want to take a break more than often. Maybe you don't want to work full time, for example. It all depends on your lifestyle, and we've changed now to a gig economy where having gaps, I think, is more important than being chained to a desk. In a job being miserable. Yeah. So as long as you can tell a good story. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that it used to be a kind of reason to raise everybody's, eyebrows, like, what did he do like 2 months? Like, why is there a gap? And nowadays, people are becoming a little bit more forgiving in terms of, because, like, we're all humans. We go sabbatical, we get sick, we decide to take a break, and that's absolutely normal. The only thing that I would, you don't need, well, first of all, don't lie. Yeah, that goes without saying. Don't stretch the dates because you will eventually forget it. And then there might be a really awkward situation when they call on your company and asking about the dates and blah, 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 and things have become really awkward. And the third one, don't call yourself a CEO of household or whatever else, Yeah, I've seen it many times, especially people who are, let's be honest, moms who are coming back to the workforce after taking a break, and they struggle, they self-esteem is like really down, and they are trying to invent some, flashy titles for themselves. You don't have to, you don't need to.
That's right. Okay.
Krishna, I'm not getting the job matching my skills and expertise. Is it okay if I take a step back and start with something lower and then move further up in the career later? Is it the right approach, or should I wait and seek the... Well, we need to see your CV, Krishna, to give you proper advice, I think. I have a few thoughts, but Jonathan, if you want to...
That's really about alignment. If you're not getting a job match, then there's something is not communicating with there's two separate things that are not joining together. It doesn't mean to say you have to go lower. What that does mean is that you probably need to figure out what you're branding yourself as, and are you branding yourself to what the market needs? And sometimes that just might be the language that you're using in your CV or in when you talk about yourself. sometimes people do undersell themselves, or they're not using the right language to connect them to the jobs. I find the language is the big connector. And as Olga said, we probably need to have a look at your CV and kind of how you're positioning yourself to see. And it might be something that we could look at and go, oh, there, it's obvious. There we go. And sometimes it is something as simple as as that. And I do kind of lightning sessions with people. I call them like shock treatment, where I go in, look at it and go, boom, 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 boom. There we go. That's the problem. Fix that. But sometimes we might uncover some deeper kind of things that we need to sort of work through as well. So I guess we'd only know when we know a little bit more about that sort of situation.
Yeah. Well, there are a few things that you might want to check with your CV. If you copy paste job description from your previous job, don't do it. Nobody's interested in job descriptions. Even people who write job descriptions are not really interested in job descriptions. You need to demonstrate how did you solve particular problems using required tools, methodologies, technologies, resources, interaction with stakeholders or whoever else around, and produce particular result, or if we're lucky, achievement, or whatever was happening was with the purpose. Yeah. So job descriptions be gone, and just do the matching exercise. Check for the keywords, and remember the keywords are nouns, the industry terms, the business processes, the methodologies, technologies, resources, whatever else, toolkit. Yeah, and see what did you do exactly the same in the same scale, like 100% fit. The second dimension would be, did something similar, maybe different tools, maybe different scale. And third, never did that, but have no problem to pick up this knowledge or skill immediately.
Another thing you could also look at is how you are structuring your job search. If you're not getting jobs matching your skills and expertise, then you might need to start being a little bit more of a detective to finding out where those jobs live. And in many cases, they don't live on the job boards. Sometimes you need to present yourself to an organization as a valuable asset, and they will create that job for you. I always found that I used to deal with a number of companies back in my recruitment days, and they said, Jonathan, if you found someone that was outstanding and they were really good, it doesn't matter what they're good at within their field, let us know about them, because if they're one of those A players and they can do great things, we will create a job for them. And that's how some people got these amazing job titles, because they were really good at selling themselves and their value, and they were able to demonstrate that value and talk about that value and what that value impact that value can have on the business. And they're like, we need to have you, because if we don't get you, our competition is going to get you. And we don't want you working for our competition. So we'll find something for you here. And that goes about networking. Yeah. As I said, it's not what you know and it's not who you know, it's who knows you. So you've got to get yourself out there and get your voice heard more, so those opportunities can come and find you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Recruiters are building what's called talent pipelines all the time. And yes, you need to make sure that you have 4 folders with favorites on your desktop. The favorites, recruiters, external recruiters from agencies who work in your field, talent acquisition people who work in the companies that you want to be in, potential hiring managers, and your peers. Yeah, and all these people should be in your newsfeed. And in order to get these people in your newsfeed, you have to, once in 2 days, open all your favorites. What did they do? Did they post something? Did they write something? Like, share, comment, like, share, comment. That's how you make these relationships warm. Yeah. And that's how LinkedIn algorithm recognizes, he's interested in this content. We're going to shove more and more. And that's how you see it when the recruiter posts a little snippet about the job, and off you go. Bob's your uncle.
There we go. All right. Anybody got any other questions?
Don't do it, Donald. Yes, Cameron. Oh my God. Donald, our Donald. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Awesome. So we'll see you real soon, possibly next week, and
or the week after.
Or the week after.
We'll let you know.
Absolutely.
We'll put it out there.
Yeah, stay with us and reach out if you need advice, if you need any kind of guidance, if you have a burning question. We're here to put out that fire for you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much, everybody. And we'll see you next time. All right. Thanks. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.